Have I ever been cheated in karate? Yes, many times. Throughout my life, throughout my martial arts career, more respectively in competition. Uh, I've been cheated. And some people might say, well, maybe it was just you. No, I'm sorry. I'm speaking about my person. There's something that we must realize as human beings, and that's simply this: everybody doesn't lie. Everybody is not in it just for the fame by any means, or by any means necessary, as quoted by someone. There are some of us who are honorable and upright in our lives, our crafts, our endeavors, and there are others who are not. I've experienced this in martial arts. And you know, I'm from the upbringing that you should always be honest. You should always tell the truth. You should always be fair to your fellow man, to the next person. And it will get you a long way in life. This is what I was brought up with. This is how my parents brought me up. And this is what I was taught in the martial arts as a very young man, a youth. But it didn't translate that well or that way when I got out there in the real world. I realized that even though these ethics, these morals were given to me as a child from my parents and then in the martial arts upbringing, be honest, be sincere, be dedicated to what you're doing. This is a way of life. I didn't realize that everybody didn't see it that way, that were part of the martial arts community. And it was very discouraging to me to witness these acts. Now, when I was competing, everybody liked the fact that you're a teen and you're competing and so forth, and you have this zeal for success and so on and so forth. But over the years, as I began to age, in my young adults and in my middle age competition, I began to see the layers peel away and see how people really were. There were cliques. You know what a clique is. It's a group of people that have their own ideologies and their own doctrines, and it doesn't necessarily conform to that which is honorable, that which is ethical. And I experienced this on many occasions. And I'm not saying this to brag, boast, but I was a very exceptional martial artist in that I studied more than one discipline. Most of the people that I competed against locally at first were just members of one group, one club, one particular art. Even though they enjoyed me as a youth, but as I progressed and got better and better and started to develop my own system at some point, I started to see some envy. I wasn't looking for it, and as I said, it was very discouraging to me how I would stand on the floor to compete against these people from these other schools, and we knew each other through competition, but because I was not a part oftentimes of that school, that organization, or that clique as it were, I was judged or scored lower than the person that they favored. And I do mean that, favored, because they were all sort of interwoven. You know, I'd go to run katas or forms, and everyone knows what I'm very famed for doing, Zui Quan, drunken. I would oftentimes get standing ovations Never saw anybody else doing that. And I'm not bragging or boasting again. This is just the truth. It's the truth of the matter. And people that know me can attest to this. And oftentimes, there would be adjacent rings when I was competing. And they were supposed to be running at the same time. Numerous competitions at the same time. Sometimes people would stop in their ring to observe me perform. But the judges and the officials in the ring, oftentimes, since it was an open event to many styles, or various styles, a lot of those local schools that I was not a member of would have judges that were black belts, that were friends with the person who was competing. And sometimes if it was a fighting match, they wouldn't see my technique, but they would see their technique afterwards, and then they would beat me. And they'll walk away with some sense of accomplishment, the person that won, even though I knew that I scored and it should have been given to me, the point. And when it came down to kata or form, it was really unanimous with the audience who the winner was in many instances. But because I was not a member again of that group, not that they didn't admire me at a distance or have a sense of respect for what I was doing, I was just not a part of that little group. So I was scored lower. And I'd walk away and I'd take it with me home, and I'd do some self-evaluation, not so much as to what my performance was like, but how is it that these people could behave in such a way just to win a trophy, and to go home and to look at your collection of awards and say with an honest heart, I actually did win that. How could you do that? But I've had my days in glory, I should say. And I relish in those days because I know who I am, and I know what I bring to the table and have brought to the table during those years of competition. And what I always really enjoyed was when I traveled outside of our community to other larger events. And when some of the foreigners judged me, they gave me the top honors, came and shook my hand and hugged me and told me that they really respected and appreciated my performance, more so than did the local people. But the local people do care, and they do love me, I believe, but I was just not their choice. It was somebody that was from their group again, or their clique. So this does happen, unfortunately, in martial arts. There is politics. So you must consider that when you go out to compete in these events, what you're up against. Even when you know you have put in 110% effort in your training and your preparation, there's always going to be a wolf out there somewhere. There's always going to be someone that's not going to be so honest. But inwardly, they know who you are and what you are and what you represent. That you represent the real thing with all honors, and that you are the real deal, whether they want to give it to you on the floor or not. Sometimes when the event is over, after they've already awarded their friend, the top honor, they'll kind of slide over to you and say, you did really good today. They're being honest. But you really did oftentimes better than good. And they know that in their heart. So I just wanted to share that with you. I've won many championships that I didn't walk away with the trophy. The physical trophy. And they know it. And they knew it then. And to this very day, when they see me, there's a certain peer, there's a certain look, certain gaze when they see me, and a certain respect and admiration that they still have for me, because they know who I am and they know what I am and what I've accomplished. But sometimes that's outweighed by their prejudice at the same time. Well, shouldn't be that way. But I'm encouraging those of you that are up and coming black belts, maybe, and those of you that are black belts and even master instructors, that to stay on the side of good. Call what you see what you actually see, and call what you actually know is right. Stop voting only for your friends just to receive some favor from them in the future, maybe. Because in the long run, it's going to come back and get you. Have you experienced this before on some level? Being cheated in competition? Not being given your just due? Can you be honest with yourself and say, well, I know that I was really better than the other individual. And even the audience told me that. Even some of their own associates told me that. Do you have a story like this? Don't take it to heart. We know how martial arts is supposed to be. We know the type of character that it's supposed to have in every individual. But unfortunately, every individual does not have that character. Well, that was it. And that was all. Enjoy your day, your evening, or afternoon, wherever you may be. This is Brother Teacher.